Hello, everyone. I think we're going to get started. I know the break was a little shorter than we expected, so thank you for your flexibility and your resilience. So, you know, everything Mike Lipkin talked about. Anyway, I have the pleasure this morning of introducing our speakers for this session. And just to make sure you're in the right session, this is Bridging the Gap, Finding the Link Between Central Hearing Loss and Cortical Cerebral Visual Impairment. So everybody's where they wanted to be? Good, good. All right, so first of all, I would like to introduce Pascal Lafrance. Pascal Lafrance discovered deafblindness over 12 years ago when his daughter Ariane was born with Charge syndrome. He and his family moved to Ottawa so their daughter could attend a specialized classroom at Jules-Léger. Already a qualified teacher, Pascal then completed his specialist courses in deafblindness at the Faculty of Education at the University of Ottawa, which I suspect was taught by Christine. He has worked in a deafblind classroom for several years before shifting to a consulting position at Consortium Centre Jules-Léger in Ottawa. Over the years, he has acquired valuable experience and attended many conferences as a parent, as a professional, with a special interest in sensory rooms, cortical visual impairment, and Charge syndrome. This is Pascal. Next, I would like to introduce Jude Nicholas. Dr. Jude Nicholas is a certified clinical neuropsychologist and a researcher employed at Stapted Center for Deafblindness and at Haukeland University Hospital in Bergen, Norway. Dr. Nicholas has some 25 years of clinical and research experience working with children and adults with different sensory loss. He has a long-standing interest in toxic conditions, genetic syndromes, and neurological conditions involving sensory impairments and cognitive functions. He is author of several articles and book chapters on these topics. His current research investigates the neuropsychological functions of brain-related visual and auditory impairment and pragmatic understanding of how the tactile system functions, particularly in persons with deafblindness. This is Jude Nicholas. Last and not least, we have Christine Sauvé. Help me out. Guindon. Christine is a lifelong learner who has dedicated her teaching career to deafblindness. She has worked in a deafblind classroom, and she is currently an educational consultant at Consortium Centre Jules-Léger. She also developed and teaches in French the deafblind additional qualification 3-part course at the Faculty of Education at Ottawa University. Over the years, she has trained under Dr. Jan van Dijk to refine her approach in child-guided strategies and assessment. She has completed the supervisor seminar on the tactile working memory scale. Being passionate about a brain-based sensory losses, she has learned everything she could regarding cortical cerebral visual impairment and obtained the Perkins-Roman CVI endorsement. She also has an interest in understanding the link between CVI and Central Auditory Processing Disorder, as well as between CVI and tactile signing. She has been published twice in the Deafblind International Review and presented at various symposiums and conferences. This is Christine.
I don't like podiums because I'm short. So basically today, when we see kids and we're consulting with kids, often I see kids with CVI and I see auditory processing issues. And when I have kids that have auditory processing issues, I see CVI. Maybe I just see it everywhere, I don't know. But then there's an underlying question. Is there a link and overlapping causes that would explain these multisensory losses and their deafblindness? So that's what we're going to try to do today. And we could not start with this talk without I'm going to cry. In the memory of Stan Monroe, who 10 years ago, when I really, really needed to talk to Jude, made sure that I did. So I want to thank Stan.
To assess program fidelity. And if you want to know more about that, I have a poster presentation in the afternoon.
Thank you for the introduction, sir. I'll go here. I love podiums. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and I know it's an emotional moment to mention Stan, but he was there to connect us, and we tried to connect the two conditions of, if you see the well-known conditions known as CVI and APD. So the question we are asking now, is there a possible link between these two conditions, right? We know they are existing independently, but how would it look like simultaneously? So here it's a possible link, right? We are starting with what we call about the underlying etiologies or the causes for many of these processing disorders, and here are the many neurological conditions which might accompany children having visual or hearing impairment, peripheral, and here are the many examples of it, like perinatal, neonatal risk factors, any kind of oxygen being given to the brain, anoxia or hypoxia, prematurity, epilepsy, hydrocephalus, meningitis, brain malformations, and even genetical syndromes, right? So they are a common etiology which in a way might affect the neurological system in the brain, especially the visual and auditory processing systems simultaneously. And if we understand that is simultaneously occurring deficits, might give us an understanding of how these neurosensory processing disorders might look like. And this is where we start our investigation to see how auditory and visual difficulties will look like, again, as we know with deafblindness, not only on the peripheral level, but also on the brain or the neural system. So what we want to do is also see or look at how this characteristic of this, both the disorders will look like. It's just we are scratching the surface. There's another a workshop for advertisement purposes. We're going to give a lecture later on with John Ravencroft, and want to understand this condition not just as 1 + 1, but how do we understand this brain-related processing disorder, right? So that's for the next lecture. So let me move on. And this is the red one? The green one. The big green one. Okay. Many green ones. Yeah, it's a green slide. So many of you all might know the CVI condition and CAPD, as normally known as auditory processing disorder. And auditory processing disorder might consider not having any neurological issues, but then there's a condition which is related to that, which is called CAPD, which is the Central Auditory Processing Disorder. So as you say, it is about an impairment caused by, on both levels, a development or deficits either in the brain processing visual pathways or auditory pathways, and disrupting normal visual or auditory or visual processing independently, right? So there's a lot of research on APD, CAPD, and CVI, but how would they look together, right? Just to put them independently again. So many of the conditions that you could see, or the characteristics, perceiving and difficulty in perceiving, understanding sound, right? Normally it's called the problems in listening ability. And then we have like difficult hearing speech in noisy environments. It's one of the major criteria for any kind of listening disorders. And also easily being distracted to other sounds or auditory factors in the environment. and as you could say, what we call as a figure ground discrimination problem in the auditory modality, and difficulty focusing the source of sound. Again, sound location might be different, right? I was sitting in the room in the major, in the plenary today, right? There were two speakers, one before, one behind me. I was really in the initial stages. I had problem actually like listening because there were two different sources of sound coming. So my brain had to adapt. Yeah, after 10 minutes or so, I could consider, or my brain had considered to listen to the sound or the message being given. So if you have problems in that, the brain will never adapt to such situations in a given environment. And then you have perceiving and changing auditory signals, which is the temporal processing aspect of it. And again, they might even affect not only perceptual level of auditory processing, but also on the cognitive level, which is mostly affecting the working memory system. And here it will be difficult remembering what was said, or difficult in remembering a set of verbal instructions, right? So again, it will also affect the person's cognitive processing. And finally, you have fatigue after listening, right? This is more, you use most of your energy to listen, and then you get quickly tired or fatigued, right? On the other hand, you could see almost a similar way we could, in a way, categorize the visual processing deficits. So it's again difficulty perceiving and understanding vision, difficulty interpreting visual information in blurred contexts, busy scenes, or in a crowded environment, which is well known within the CVI world or CVI understanding. Facial expressions are difficult, root findings are difficult, again, difficulty in seeing things that move, depth perception is difficult, and even understanding 3D space could be difficult. In a similar manner, the example which I mentioned about sound processing, because it's again auditory processing, does follow a pattern of temporal processing in an auditory environment. And then again, on the other side, cognitive processing could be also affected in the visual modality, such as visual working memory, and this will be more related in difficulty visualizing something and keeping in mind, both doing the task of visualizing and keeping that in mind. And recalling the relevant visual information might be difficult too. And the same way, fatigue or feeling fatigue resulting from visual tasks will also be very similar, right? So as you could see, this is a description of putting the one disorder in connection with the other disorder. So the next question is do we see children in the deafblind population as having these two processing disorders? And this is what both Pascal and Christina will go forward with.
What if I do this? Okay. So I've been at this job for over 25 years, and what I've discovered at the beginning is, like I said at the beginning, I saw kids who had CVI, and you see the little girl, and she's blocking her ears to be able to listen, to see. And when I went to meet her for the first time, the vision consultant said, well, I have a student for you. I bet you she's deafblind. Then I got her audiogram back, and it was normal. But she wasn't using her hearing. So I said, okay, what is this? And then we have a boy at school, and he's got auditory processing disorder. But the more I got to know him, they described his vision as funky. There's something going on. And finally, with other of his visual losses, we discovered there's CVI, and one ophthalmologist had written might have mild CVI. I didn't know what mild meant, but we assessed him, and he was in late phase 2, beginning phase 3 of using Christina Roman-Lancey's scale. So there was a link starting to and there was. But I'll backtrack. Where do I work? Where does Pascal and I work? We're at Consortium Jules-Léger. And here in Ottawa, this is last September, when school start, or August, school is about to start. And we have consultants of the deaf, blind and low vision, learning difficulties, and then there's us, the deaf-blind team. And in that picture, there's 3 of us. And in June, there was a 4th that was added. And why I added that picture, because we work all together in the same hallway or virtually during Zoom, and often my deaf colleagues deaf consultants would say, I have a student for you. Or the same thing will happen with the blind or low vision consultants would say, there's someone out, like the little girl I was showing, that's more than just vision. So there's sometimes we sort of inherit these cases and we take them on with, we enjoy it a lot, because the next slide is what is deaf blindness. It's what I learned from Jan van Dijk and others, it's all about functioning, and it's always functioning. So you don't have to read French, but the red side of the screen of the boxes are important. And of course there's the medical part to it, the blue part, but do I really need it today to be able to service the student who I have? And that's been the main question that I'm saying, no, it's function. So what do we do with them? How do we service them? Another student, she's Nicole, a vision itinerant teacher in the Toronto board, French board, asked me to come and see her because there's something more. And everything is there. She had white matter issues. She had visual issues, but her audiogram, normal, right? But this girl, when we started to look at all the hearing issues involved, these are some of my notes from over the years, and it seemed to me like, really, she can't really process what she's hearing. It was ADP. But could we get it diagnosed? And she was verbal. And even if she was verbal, we still had audiologists who questioned if she should be, or we were pushing something, us teachers. But finally, the pediatrician said to me, you make sure she gets what she needs at school and make her a productive member of society. Well, that's Nicole, fast forward, and when she did second diploma, college diploma, and graduated June 18th, 2019. And then Nicole now, she has a job, she has her guide dog, and she does live a productive life. I won't go through all, I could talk about her for about 3 hours, everything that we did, but we didn't just assume she had ADP. We made sure that we used criteria or adaptations in her schooling to go over and beyond her CVI or her vision issues for her to succeed. So on this guy, I needed to talk to him, to talk about Nicole 10 years ago. Thanks. Thank you, Jude. Because I needed to know, am I imagining this? Is this real? So, and these were the words of wisdom that I got from him. So I never forgot that hearing and listening, totally different, and understanding, right? And in Lille, when I presented, it was a case, the same thing. It was all about CVI, and this little girl loved music. No functional hearing, but loved music, so she can hear. And what did we develop from that for her to have a productive life? So our caseloads over the years, a lot of these kids had either auditory processing disorder or CVI, and we kept seeing a link between them. So CVI characteristics, as I was doing my courses with Perkins, you know, you learn all about CVI, and okay, there's a blink reflex. Well, atypical response to sudden noises maybe is a characteristic that I could make a link to. Distance vision, is it difficulty localizing sounds? I saw that too. Visual field preferences. Again, could that be like compared to difficulty localizing sounds again? Novelty. Well, there is novelty. If I present a word or a sound to a student that doesn't understand it, they didn't understand it. So it was, again, a link I could see with CVI. And there was latency on both sides. And in the hallway of the consultants, we started coining this. I'll talk about that one in a minute. About CVI of the ears. Was I seeing this? Was I under, like, so we kept talking about, I'll say it in French, but cet élève-là a CVI des oreilles. And that's what we kept on talking about. And the last one at the bottom, light and music. You know, light gazing and how they'll enjoy light, and light, we use it so much as a tool to make them learn. Well, a lot of these kids are really attracted to music, have their favorite song, really enjoy a certain kind of music. Could I use a singing song voice for them to attract to my message? Could I use music like the presentation I did in Lille? And the answer was, yeah, kind of. So would that be the equivalent? If there's music around, they don't listen. They're just stuck on that music, like the light gazing. And really, CVI, it's all about complexity and vision. Well, isn't auditory processing disorder all about complexity in hearing? So, cannot listen and use other senses simultaneously. We talk about that in CVI too. Cannot decode various sounds simultaneously. Difficulty with speech or rapid speech, or will only hear the last word. If you give choices, they'll repeat the last word or the last syllable. And I'll pass it over to one ticket.
I'm not a podium guy either. So auditory processing characteristics, we might not go through all of these, but it's just to show that the things that we've seen with our students that are either diagnosed or undiagnosed with the CAPD. So here are some of the characteristics. Atypical response to sudden noise. The kid that, the student at Central Jules-Léger that we admitted last year has normal hearing in the audiogram, but does not respond to sudden noise at all, even fire alarms, even very loud noises. So how can he have normal hearing if he can't respond to sudden noises? Atypical response to auditory stimuli, nonverbal or poor expressive verbal language, which we see a lot. Auditory latency, attraction to music, which Kristen talked about. Music is the thing I see first, usually, in these students. Novelty, preference to known sounds, recorded music, sometimes it's very predictable. Country music, which is, I don't know if you guys know country music, it's a very American thing, also Canadian a bit, but very predictable. Every song is the same. They're all predictable, and kids love it because they know what's coming. Figure ground, complex, noisy environment, hard to figure out what is speech, what is noise, how to process all this information. Other sense competing with hearing. So if there's multisensory issues, the other senses will take over maybe, and they won't hear as well. Dichotic listening, fatigue, auditory working memory is compromised also. There's some more. I won't even go through these. Just that's complexity, following conversation. There's many people speaking all at once. Maybe it's difficult to hear or to follow the conversation. If it's going too fast, who's talking? Where do I turn to look at the speaker? By the time this guy or this girl or this person speaks, maybe he's already done speaking and it's on to the next. So it's hard to follow a conversation. Word comprehension, some new words or some more difficult words or some mispronounced words, different accents, etc., etc. Many things can alter your comprehension and your processing. Subtleties of speech, irony, emotions can be hard to understand if you're only listening. Sometimes too, you're not having the. If you take out the visual aspect, even if you keep it, some emotions may not convey as well if you don't process all of this information. It's not only the words, it's not only the sounds, it's just how the sound comes to and all the emotional and social aspect of it. Intonation of the word, hard to pick up, does not understand computerized voices because it's another barrier to sound. Kristen, back to you.
So we do have kids who do actually have double diagnosis, and I was talking to a mom in the escalator today, and her son also did. So in our building, Central Auditory, here's Marois. She has CVI, diagnosed with CAPD. Music, again, trumps everything. But use it strategically would be one of the strategies, very important. She's starting to understand simple speech and words, known words. Keep it in context and keep it simple. She's unisensory, but I'll show you a few videos. If they don't work, just...
Okay, we go to the last and third.
We had videos.
She is a rehabilitation scientist for hearing impairments and also a PhD student at the University of Cologne.
Va en arrière. Anyways, we'll keep going. We'll see what we can do.
She's also currently taking further
And I have my laptop if you need it.
consultant.
All right, so the first video was, I'll explain it. She's listening to, she has a phone in her hands, and she's basically only listening to the music. And we try to take the phone away from her, and it's like taking, no, she doesn't want to. And at the bottom, you would have seen her she's touching beads, and we're talking around her, and there's, where is it?
Since the beginning of 2023, administrator of the DBI acquired Deafblindness Network Facebook group,
Technology.
the Witness Vision Impairment Research
Anyways,
Network.
the bottom one, she's holding the beads, and with the beads, and nothing else exists but touching. She's not looking, she's not really listening, she is touching. And at the last moment, you would have seen someone coming into her bubble, and she startles, even if we were all there around her. It clicks, but nothing happens.
So, hello
And I can't go
everyone. My name is
forward
Sauvé.
anymore.
Thank you, Saskia, for your introduction. I'm a 31-year-old white woman. My hair is light brown and chin length. And today I'm wearing I would say pink rusty
So what did the other guy say when this happens? Just keep going? Okay.
And on my right foot I have an ankle foot of rose. In case you want.
Should I start singing, Jude? What do you want me to do? Huh?
My title of
Well, there's my laptop, if you can hook it up,
adults with acquired deafblindness in Germany,
because I can't do anything.
social and digital
Hey?
participation through the use of assistive technology and information and communication technologies. Big title, I hope I can
Maybe, but they made us convert it, right?
read it well so you will have an understanding of it.
But right now I can't even move forward. The other student you would have seen, no, typically.
Information about my work.
Do we have technical help coming, or do I keep just babbling?
It's in the event hub page, so if you are interested.
All
in
right.
that.
I don't know how to keep going because I hadn't really scheduled that. Anyways. Okay, Sean, I'll talk about Sean. Sean's mom is here, Elizabeth. She has an 8. Anyway, Sean is another example. He has dual diagnosis, and we see it clearly that he has dual diagnosis. And he even has a cochlear implant. He's got CVI, but even with the cochlear implant, you'll see that he gets the speech around him will. I'm sorry, I sort of lost track. Anyways, he gets he listens and he gets distracted. That's the word I was looking for. He gets distracted by a voice in the background. And right away, he cannot then concentrate to what he's supposed to be doing. But then Catherine, his teacher is here today, prompts him to listen. Oh, I can change maybe? Oh, yeah. Phew. All right. Well, there's Sean. There's no videos, though. Okay. So I kind of explained what he was doing. And then at the cafeteria, even if there's noise, after we practice and learn the skill, he gets to do it, even if there is noise in the background. And he does it well. Now I won't change from this one. What was the next one? Arlette? All right.
You can just talk without the slide, that's fine. So these two, Marois and Sean, these two are diagnosed. They have CVI diagnosis, they have an APD or neuropathy diagnosis. This other student that I wanted to show you is not on the screen. And there she is. Arlette, or as mom calls her, Arlie. So she has Williams syndrome. She exhibits the music is very important for her. Music trumps everything. There's the video that's there would show that if there's music, nothing else exists. She only listens to music. In the video, I was doing an activity with her, making her look, follow this ball, playing with it, and then as soon as music starts and I continue the same activity, she is blank stared, listening to music. And as soon as I stop the music, she says, "Why did you close the music? Why did you shut off the music?" So as soon as there's music, she exhibits like CVI behavior, basically, and is not looking or not following her latency. But as soon as that music comes off, and she's using her vision now, she was using her vision quite well. She works better in controlled environments. She's inconsistent, so sometimes it's really showing that she's not using some senses. Other times it feels like almost she's like the other kids in her class. So it's difficult to assess. This was another video with Christine this past, I think, May. She was hearing a word but misunderstanding context. So they were playing this game with the cards, and then the cards were the same. So they said the cards were friends. Hey, these cards are friends, they're the same. But she heard the word friends, and she turned to the door and said, who's coming in? Who's the friend coming in? No, this is friends. These cards are friends. No. They had, and then more explanation to, oh, okay, that's what you mean. But she heard friends. Whoop, friends. Stats. There's a couple stats just from our caseload. We've compiled from our students who has diagnoses, who has none, who has CVI, and who's... I'll show you. So the yellow bonhommes, I call them bonhommes. They're stickmen. I don't know how you want to call them, so let me call them bonhommes. Students with confirmed CVI, we have 21 out of 81 students. That's our caseload. Students with suspected CVI, so students that are not diagnosed, but we think have CVI, 43 out of 81. And then students with other visual challenges, 17. So that's a lot of CVI-ness in our students. On the CAPD or APD, the yellow bonhams, 13 confirmed or diagnosed, 51 that we think have APD, but are not diagnosed, and other auditory challenges, 27. Now, if we put both together, I'm taking just the kids that have CVI or APD or both. So I'm taking out the other students. There's 64 students there. The yellow is 5. So we have 5 students out of all our students that have confirmed CVI and auditory processing or auditory neuropathy. There's 28 that have one of both confirmed, so either CVI or APD. And then we have 25 students that have both suspected. So, and students that have only one we suspect they have CVI but not APD or vice versa. Yeah, there's only 6 of them. So that's not a lot. Why are there not many confirmed? We have so many suspected, but why not many confirmed? Testing methods are not there, I think, yet. I'm not a scientist, I'm just a teacher. But I think the medical aspect is very hard to get right now. Testing methods, APD testing requires verbal students that have verbal skills. We have a lot of nonverbal students. What about them? CVI, who should test for it? Is it ophthalmology? Is it optometry? Is it neurology? Who do we go see? There's multiple other diagnoses involved. Sometimes CVI, they think it's autism or etc. Misdiagnoses. And then CVI and APD still unknown with medical professionals at large. There are some that they have knowledge of it, and then we seek them out, but a lot of them don't, and are just starting to learn about it. Maurice Belot, who did a presentation at Perkins last year when I was there, he said CPD cannot yet be diagnosed in children who do not have traditional verbal language, which is our main challenge right now.
We'll see how far we can get through. Oh, bidule, machin chouette. All right, so we'll see how much time we have left and what can work, but here we go. We have a Hunter. I don't have any videos for him, that's good. Students with CVI, but he exhibits ADP behaviors. He had acquired an accident when he was 18 months, so acquired brain injury. When I went to see the neurologist, because I can perceive this auditory issues, the neurologist said to me, "Did you see the damage to his brain on the MRI?" Kind of, yeah. That's why he has CVI. And she said, well, yeah, most likely, because even if he has hearing in both ears, he doesn't really use one of them. And he's always, and you can see in the picture, turning his ear one way. Okay. So with proper, if we continue putting in what he needs in his IEP we have in Ontario, then we now know that he has identified with vision issues, communication, physical because of his CP, and intellectual disabilities. But the strategies used are a lot that we use with kids who are deafblind, and they work. Mia, a little girl I met because she had Central Auditory Processing Disorder, diagnosed. Then her vision is odd. So here we are meeting Mia. Put that picture, because she also has other issues like balance issues. So there's other things going with other senses. So visual clutter was really an issue with her. Couldn't read. That's when she came to visit us at her school, and she thought she was going to the bathroom, saw the triangle, but it was not the bathroom. So I thought it was a skirt. So the CVI characteristics, things that were fun, she would like tell us like, wait a minute, I want to see. She'd ask to put her FM system on. So I guess hearing helped her see better. And other things she did was reversals. She didn't have a hand dominance. She was ambidextrous, we would say. Because of that, she didn't know where the word started. Like she in the blocks, she did the blocks like we asked, but she did a mirror image. So she would mix up numbers. Was it dyslexia? I'm not qualified to tell you, but there's something funky going on. She would use a lot of her sense of touch, tactile working memory scale, and to figure out where to place things, to replicate what she's doing there, the task. So we decided by talking with Mom, let's make her, seemed to be more dominant of left hand, let's make her left-handed, make sure that she uses to eat, to write, to draw, to everything. Would that help her learn how to read? And I don't think the videos are going to start. But anyways, there at that video in February 2022, she sees the word fleur, F-L-E-U-R, and she has a hard time, well, she knows what word it is, she can recognize it, but she was looking at the end of the word. She didn't know where the beginning or the end of the word was. So we were making her find the word amongst other words, and we fooled her with another word ending in R. And 1 year later, with a lot of work with her teacher also and using strategies, she can now, it was the word canard, duck, and she can recognize the word, but she also brings the paper when it was really small closer to her eyes to see better. She does things like, bring it to her left eye, then she hides the words to eliminate clutter. It gets easier with repetition to be able to identify the new word. Like it looks like CVI, and she goes faster. But the thing is, once we pushed Mom, let's go get an MRI. What is going on with the brain? And thank goodness we were talking to Jude later on that week, because the MRI came back normal. And we said, what? But Jude called me down and said, keep going, you're doing a good job. So we don't know yet what the cause is, but there is something dually happening. That's why I wanted to talk about Mia, because sometimes you don't have the answers. We have trialed FM systems with kids with CVI, and it works. Really works. And the staff right away said he had more verbal skills. Transitions were easier. It just made life easier for him. But we do suspect there's something wrong with Central Auditory. Oh. If you want to know more about Jude, we talked to him. That's a commercial break for the next presentation we're doing. But just remember that it's not a one-size-fits-all. This little girl is in Sudbury, and we use a whole bunch of accommodations for her. Total communication, with signing, with an FM system, and different things. Oh, it's working.
Participation in the digital environment and through the digital environment.
Ok, agora je choisis ça. Ok.
Oh.
Qui choisit?
Good. Okay. Well, first of all, my apologies for the technical difficulties and not being able to see the videos, but just a reminder, all of the materials are going to be available online after the conference on the DBNO website, so hopefully you'll be able to see the videos then. Yes.
We'll have a plenary session also again in Canada Hall 1 on the third floor, and that will start at 12.
But there'll be videos of the sessions as well. Yeah. So just a huge thank you to Jude, Pascal, and Christine for your presentation today. It was very informative and certainly very interesting information that you've all shared. So just as a token of our appreciation, we do have a gift for each of you.